My name is Michael Kane. I left home in the dark because leaving always feels easier when the world is quiet. She stood at the doorway, holding a mug with both hands, like it could steady her heart. Come back to me, Emma said. I always do, I told her. That was the promise we'd said so many times. It felt like a door with a familiar handle. The runway lights looked like a necklace laid across the earth. The wind smelled like fuel and rain. Somewhere inside that smell, I folded the memory of her and packed it next to my orders. Because that's how you carry what you can't afford to drop. Deployment compresses time. Days are lists. Nights are radio checks and long stretches where the sky listens more than you do. You stop counting sleeps and start counting returns? Our team did convoy security in sight. Overwatch in a place where maps changed their minds. Dust moved like weather. People moved like rumors. I kept a notebook in my right cargo pocket, names, coordinates, little sketches of intersections that felt wrong. Habit can be a prayer. At night, I'd read her messages under a red lens. Tiny windows. A dog sleeping on the couch. A new plant on the sill. I miss you in the mornings, she wrote. Everything's quieter, but not in a good way. I typed back, I'm there at 0600 in my head. Kiss the coffee for me. The replies trickled, then staggered, then spaced out like dying beacons. You tell yourself it's the network. You tell yourself people back home have lives that don't orbit your absence. You tell yourself a lot of things, because it's easier than telling yourself one hard thing. 3 months in, we were parked off a cracked road waiting on a clearance call that wouldn't come. Our comms tech, Drew, passed me a spare battery and said, You okay, Sarge? You've been staring at the desert like it owes you money. I had a bad dream, I said. You don't dream, he said. Not usually. When we got the call to roll, I tucked the phone deeper in my vest and pretended silence didn't have weight. On a Tuesday, with no weather, I opened an email from Emma that started with my name and no. Hey, people think grief begins with news. It doesn't. It begins with tone. Michael, it said, we need to talk when you can. I'm sorry, that's all. No body, no sign-off. Between waypoints that day, every rock looked like a clue. Every shadow like an answer. I counted culverts and promises in the same rhythm, and both lists felt too long. We made it through the deployment on good luck and bad coffee. Our platoon came home mostly together. The first breath back in Virginia smelled like pine needles and jet wash and something else, something like a life. I was supposed to recognize. She wasn't at the gate. She wasn't in the first row. She wasn't late. She just wasn't. I Ubered home because asking a buddy for a ride is a kind of confession. My key worked. The house did that thing where it inhales for you when you cross the threshold. There was a second toothbrush on the bathroom. Sink and a wine glass drying by the stove. The dog bed was empty. We never had a dog. She came in 10 minutes later, cheeks flushed, hair up like she'd been running errands. She stopped in the doorway like she'd stepped into a photo of us that didn't match. Michael, she said, and my name sounded like a word she'd borrowed. You said we need to talk, I said. She set down a bag slowly. I'm sorry. There are 1,000 better ways to start. They are also worse. How long? I asked. Since the end of spring, she said. I tried to wait for the right time to tell you. What's his name? She looked past me to the window where the rain had started. It doesn't help to know. Emma, I said. And the way I said her name felt like knocking on a door I built myself. Daniel, she whispered. He's a contractor. He works with base logistics sometimes. It wasn't supposed to be anything. I didn't know how to be alone that long. She said the sentences politely, the kind of politeness you use to arrange flowers at a funeral. We didn't shout. People think shouting is the sound of a break. It isn't. It's the quiet that follows. Did he come here? I asked. Yes. That word carried furniture I paid for. I slept at a cheap motel with a door that stuck and a window that faced an alley. I stared at the ceiling until the ass clicked back on and off, counting how many times a man can breathe without his chest catching fire. In the morning, I made a list. It had 3 lines. 1. Accept the fact. 2. Protect the truth. 3. Don't let the worst thing decide the next thing. I bought a spiral notebook at a gas station because I needed paper that didn't remember me. I wrote, he promised her a now. I promised her a later. She picked a now. I wasn't angry. Anger is loud. I was emptied. People told me to go wild. To key a car. To burn a life. People talk like movies when they're scared for you. I've seen what fire does to houses. I chose water. I ran at dawn until the river steam blurred the edges of the world. I made coffee strong enough to hold a spoon upright. I called my old platoon sergeant, Rivera, who said, "You want me to put hands on somebody?" And when I laughed without humor, he said, "Then we do it your way." My way is paperwork and patience. The Army teaches you to build systems you can stand on when the ground shifts. I looked up Daniel. Not many pieces fit what she'd said. A logistics contractor with a tidy LinkedIn, a smile perfected for briefings, and a habit of tagging the gym and a certain cafe in the same week. Emma stopped signing emails with love. I found pictures of him at networking nights, always on the right side of the frame, like he understood light. I wasn't going to stalk him. I was going to map him. There's a difference. Maps show routes and choices. His routes intersected ours more than coincidence makes comfortable. Procurement committees, vet-owned suppliers, a veteran wellness initiative he sponsored that sounded like a pamphlet. I didn't file a complaint about. Emma, you can't file a grievance against a heart. But I could ask a clean question about conflict of interest if a contractor leveraged access to families, to homes, to soldiers. The IG inbox has room for clean questions. I flagged 2 emails he sent from a government, adjacent address to Emma during hours that weren't business. I asked an attorney friend if that mattered. She said, maybe not legally, but pattern matters. How it looks matters. The bigger truth was not the affair. It was the use of proximity and trust. If you take a soldier's absence and turn it into your access, that's not romance. That's predation with good cologne. I met Emma at a diner because I didn't want our house to have more memories than it could write down. The waitress poured coffee like a benediction. "I'm not here to punish you," I said. "I don't want your forgiveness," she said. "I want you to be okay. I'll get there," I said. "But I can't do it inside the story he wrote for us." She nodded. "I know. Did he present himself as part of the base?" He always talked about we when he meant the work. He knew dates, schedules. He asked if I needed anything while you were gone, she said. And then she put her hands flat on the table because they were shaking. I thought I was strong. And I am, but I was also lonely. I made it his job to fix that. That's not on you. Did he ever hint at using this access for business? She blinked. He talked about vendors. He asked me what you liked in gear. He wanted to know what your unit wanted when they rotated back. I thought he was trying to. Information is currency. Someone paid someone. I didn't want revenge. Revenge is a loud, short movie. I wanted to record. Records outlast rage. I filed a short complaint. Not salacious. Not dramatic. Just dates, positions, a suggestion that someone with access to base family support used that access to cultivate relationships that impacted procurement and personal lives. I attached what I had. I hit send. It felt like dropping a small, dense stone into deep water. The next morning I woke to a text from a number I didn't know. "You Kane?" it said. "This is Jen from Family Readiness. You should talk to me." We met at a park under a tree that leaked sunlight. She wore a ball cap and a posture that said she'd seen every version of this conversation. "You're not the first," she said. "He shows up with brochures and the right words. He asks who needs help moving furniture, whose washer went out, who needs a ride. It feels like kindness. Then it feels like company," she said. "Then choices get made that shouldn't be made. Then he introduces a vendor who happens to be him." "You filed anything?" "I sent 3 emails to people who can make problems go away," she said. "They vanished into management." "People who can make problems go away," I repeated. "You know the type," she said. I asked her to write down what she'd told me. She said she would if it stayed on her timeline. "I don't want a headline," she said. "I want a fix." Fix, the same word Reeves had used in another story once upon a time. Maybe all betrayals rhyme. The IG asked for a formal interview. I showed up with a folder that smelled like printer heat and coffee and day. A little bit like hope. The lawyer took notes with a mechanical pencil, the kind that whispers. He asked for facts. I gave him only those. Then I went quiet. Not silent. Quiet. There's a difference. Quiet is the sound you make when you're letting a fuse burn toward light. I moved out of the house we chose. She signed papers with a careful hand. We split the furniture like we were dividing a field after a drought. No one got the good season. We signed the divorce 2 months later at a desk that had seen other signatures. Learned the same. People told me to start over. People always want you to start before you can stand. I walked instead. Long walks before sunrise. I'd stand on the pier and let the wind ride on my face until my features belonged to the weather again. One morning, a runner stopped next to me. He wore an old unit shirt and a grin that said he recognized a posture. "Saw you at the gym," he said. "You lift like you're remembering something." "I'm forgetting," I said. "Good," he said. "Forgetting is a muscle too." The IG called and said they were continuing. Inquiries. The phrase holds both promise and patience. I kept running. You can measure healing by how long you can think about what happened without narrating it out loud. One day, I realized I'd gone an entire hour without rehearsing an argument. I'd never actually have. That felt like a medal. Then a different call, a small business owner named Maria, who used to supply our unit with boot repairs and canvas gear. "I think you're the one who filed," she said. "He cut us out. Daniel, he set up meet and grats with wives and sold them on his buddies. Products," she said. "We did everything above board for years. Then, overnight, new vendors. Same faces at the fundraisers. Different invoices." I asked her to send me what she had. She sent ledgers with dates that lined up with the dates. Emma stopped signing emails with "love." Patterns make their own kind of testimony. I packaged the new facts and sent them to the IG and to a reporter who doesn't love drama but loves receipts. He said, "If this intersects procurement and family programs, it's not just a marriage story, it's a public trust story." "Make it that," I said. He did his job. Quietly, patiently, he found 2 more spouses who'd felt supported into dependence. He found one base civilian who said, off record, that someone kept asking for help getting names of families who needed check-ins. Names are a kind of currency. You could ask why I didn't knock on Daniel's door. I asked myself that a lot at 3 a.m. The answer is simple. I wanted a fix, not a fight. A fight ends when someone says, enough. A fix ends when a better rule sits where the broken one hid. Months passed. The river changed its color the way it does. Leaves turned like hands. I kept a seat at the back of a church. I didn't attend and learned to like the sound of other people singing. Then the story broke. Not scandal exposure. Not flowers of gossip, fences of facts. Headline: Contractors' access to military families raises ethics questions. Procurement patterns under review. There were no names in the headline. Inside, there were. Daniel had quotes that sounded polished and unfortunate. The article wasn't about my marriage. It was about a pattern that used the shape of support to sell doors into people's homes. He released a statement about misunderstandings and deep respect for our troops. The base released a statement about reviewing practices to safeguard families. The IG sent me an email that had fewer hedges in it. Further action pending, it said. Emma texted once after it ran. "I didn't know about the vendor stuff," she wrote. "I'm sorry I was part of his access." "It wasn't your job to vet him," I replied. "It was ours." "Do you hate me?" she asked. "No," I said. "Hate is a job I don't want." The next time I saw Daniel was at a grocery store, of all places, in the parking lot, where justice often likes to look ordinary. He was putting water in his trunk with a careful kind of calm. He saw me, and his eyes did that quick arithmetic men do when they're weighing outcomes. "Kane," he said, like the first syllable of a story. "Daniel," I said, "I never meant to hurt you." "You didn't," I said. "Do you hurt yourself?" I just turned on the light. He looked past me at a sky that couldn't decide whether to rain. "You could have handled it like men," he said. "We did," I said. "We used a ledger." He laughed once, the sound of a match that won't catch. "You ruined me." "No," I said. "Consequences did." I walked away, not because I'm noble, but because a good ending is sometimes simply choosing not to add another scene. Months later, the review concluded. They didn't send me a banner. They sent me a PDF. It read like, "All drive victories. Red bullet. Points that shift boundaries. No direct marketing through family programs. No single vendor dominance without full disclosure. Mandatory ethics training that teaches proximity is power. Use it with care." There was a line about Daniel's access being suspended indefinitely. There was a line about community partners being re-onboarded, including Maria's shop. The last paragraph said quietly what it meant loudly. "Trust is the mission." I printed that one and taped it to my fridge. I never got a perfect apology. Life isn't a courtroom. But one afternoon, Jen, from Family Readiness, texted a photo of a bulletin board with new flyers on it, Maria's, a counseling services, a food drives, and underneath, a handwritten note that said, "Thanks for helping us reset the rules. No signature. Didn't need one. People ask where I put the hurt. I put it where I put my medals, in a drawer I open on anniversaries and storms. I don't live there. I visit. I started going to the ocean on Sundays just before sunrise. The water has a way of telling you the truth without using words. I'd stand by the shore and let the waves pull the ankles of my thoughts into tide until the jagged edges smoothed. There's a strength that looks like stillness. I learned that strength on water I didn't have to cross to earn. Some nights I still hear the way the front door sounded the morning I left. A memory can echo longer than a room. But another sound lives here now. Laughter from a second-hand dining table when friends bring food and we make too much of it. The scratch of a pen across a clean page. The slice of an orange while the kettle starts to sing, if you pay attention. Ordinary becomes sacred. I promised her I'd come back. I did. She couldn't wait. She didn't have to. The promise changed its address and found me anyway. If you're listening and your life cracked where you thought it was welded, hear me. You are not the break. You are the hands that will build the new frame. When you're ready, choose water over fire. Choose the ledger over the fist. Speak the truth in daylight and let consequence do the labor rage can't finish. My name is Michael Kane. I fought for my country. I fought for my home, too quietly, with receipts and witnesses and the ocean as my chaplain. Some wars end with paperwork. That's not weak. That's how you build peace that lasts. And peace that lasts is the only victory that matters.